Welcome back to the Business of Becoming. I'm your host, Stephanie. And today we're continuing our mini series of the Art of Being Real. And we're going to talk about and highlight the art of unlearning the performance. So we're in a generation where we just look at the highlight reel and we're just always trying to have or live this lifestyle of perfection, or just like, oh my God, that girl has the perfect house or the perfect family. And there's not really any truth behind what you post sometimes. I think I found myself there plenty of times. And today I want to teach you guys how I had to learn how to not perform, to really feel like my genuine self, and to be able to be sitting here on this chair and giving you guys, advice or just insight, because we can get very consumed and detach ourselves even from who we really are very quickly when we're just trying to perform for acceptance or to just sit at a table that maybe it was not meant for us. For so many of us, especially millennials, we constantly find ourselves that performance that we have was built for our protection. What do I mean? I mean, like, we're a boss, we're a mom, we're an overachiever, and everything that we do is just to try to get like a clap or to get like a good job or good boy or whatever. And I found myself there multiple times. I mean, again, I've told you guys 1,000 times, I'm a little sister. So I got that little sister syndrome. And I've always wanted to kind of like shine a little bit, just to kind of be seen. And I had to like overperform and over excel, or just to try and get a little bit of like notice, or that's what I thought. That was just in my mind. Because in reality, people love you for you. But I mentioned this in one of my other podcasts too, that I had always been very serious for a big part of like my 20s, because I was filtered. I was filtered to be like, okay, you're going to be a boss now, or, you're going to get married. You're going to be with like, this is the kind of lady you have to be. So I had to be very filtered and very cautious of how I spoke, of how I talked. Now in my 30s, not that I know all and be all, but I definitely feel like a big confidence, I would say, in being the unfiltered version of myself, and learning that sometimes I don't have to be afraid if people are going to love that unfiltered version. Sometimes those people, they need that unfiltered version because that's the real you. That's the authentic version of who you are and cannot be replicated. The first thing I want to talk about is how overperforming is more often than not a trauma response. And you're going to tell me, what do you mean trauma? Like, I mean, that word has been thrown around like crazy lately, but I'm going to give you my perspective. So my perspective is, obviously, again, as a little sister, the whole nine. Growing up, I had a brother, and my brother passed away. So with that, I tried to overperform in so many different things as a young kid. I was in elementary school, and I just tried not to feel lost in everything that was going on. Try not to be like abandoned, and try to feel like I had to earn, somebody's attention. And again, shout out to my parents. They're amazing people, and everything that they've been through is amazing. And they did the best they could, and I'm so grateful for them. But it doesn't mean that you don't go through things internally that you don't know how to project, especially that young. You have no idea how to talk about things or your feelings when you see so many adults around you really processing themselves and trying to process it themselves. So I had to overperform a lot as a kid, as a child, to just feel seen and feel like I can talk, and be heard. I realized that so much of my adulthood, I tried to find a reason to be needed everywhere, at work and family and in any friendship. I just tried to find a way to be needed so that it would give me like value. And I just realized that it cultivated like what I thought was ambition. Like, oh, I'm going to work hard so that I can provide, so that I can do this, so I can take my parents out of struggle, so I can do, like, it was just like constant. And I thought that was ambition. I thought that was like me hustling and, just doing the right thing. But My therapist like shot it down and really helped me see that it was just me having this overachiever armor because I never addressed things that I went through, that I needed that value. I needed someone to give me that because I was struggling for it. I was backpedaling and treading water. Again, not that I had a terrible childhood, guys, and then you're gonna be like, oh my God, pobrecita. No, I had a great childhood. I have amazing sisters and amazing family that have been the backbone to so many things that I've been able to accomplish. But you start seeing that in how it relates later in life to a lot of different areas, and it bleeds into that if you never address it. So I learned that ambition that I thought I had, that yeah, I had it, don't get me wrong, but it was also just me trying to survive. It was me just trying to, even though I was treading water, trying to make it happen, I was surviving that without really addressing roots that I had. And I just want to encourage everybody that like part of your process to heal from that, which is what I've learned, is learning that you don't need to have someone approve your existence. Like, you're here. You exist for a reason. And that's how I started my healing journey on this topic, on taking off that, overachiever armor and just believing that, you know what, I got to start unlearning the performance that I have had my entire life and being authentic and being myself and seeing how that would relay in this new version that I'm becoming. Second thing I want to talk about is how to start showing up without like your facade, without your mask. I would just say like realness starts with you not trying to edit your truth. I can be here and say like, I'm super happy, oh my God, everything's been great, and even though this year has been amazing and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I don't know how many people I can connect to if I do that. I'm pretty sure I can. But who cares? Like, I want you guys to know the real me, and this is liberating for me to be honest and truthful about struggles, about things that I've dealt with, about things that I've learned, because the truth sets you free. And you saying that allows other people to find freedom in something that maybe they didn't even realize that they were dealing with. And find out that, man, you know what? I may have been living in a performance, and giving somebody the chance to really see that different perspective, it's important. It's amazing. It's, like I said, it's liberating. I've seen people, and I follow a bunch of different influencers and a bunch of different people, and I can tell when they're just being genuine. I can tell, and I can connect with them and be like, man, there's something I want to learn from them when they're just themselves. There's so many perfect people in the world online. But in reality, like, what are you going to learn from someone who's so perfect? Because when then you try it, it's like you're going to feel like a failure. And you're setting yourself up for failure at that point when you're just trying to reach perfection. Understand that the entire journey of life is built with imperfections, mistakes, like problems here and there. And it's just learning how to overcome them and helping people as you're doing that. This is probably like one of the best keys to understand how to live without that mask. And the best way that you can do it, and this is a question that I've asked myself multiple times, is what version of me am I showing when I'm about to disappoint somebody? And I know that you're going to be like, what does that mean? I mean, your real authentic self is when you have to do hard things, okay, and you come up between like a rock and a hard place. Like, what version of yourself is coming out? And you need to choose, like, are you going to put the mask on and be somebody who's completely different and just, avoid real conflict, avoid real hard things? Or are you just going to like let yourself be real and say, this is tough, but I'm going to do what I only know how to do, which is be myself. There's a time and place for everything, right? Because you're one person when you're with your girls, and then you're another person when you're, in boss mode. But you have to let those versions of yourself be yourself. I'm telling you, because I come in and, I'm a boss and everything, but I have those times with my staff where they can see, like me, they can see the genuine, funny version of who I am. And, I play basketball with them. I do things that make me feel in my element outside of just being their boss. Again, just understand that taking off that mask and that facade is, number one, liberating, and number two, just remember that it's never tied to your output. No matter what is being weighed on you or whatnot, like, your real self has nothing tied to what you put out. It's you. If you continue trying to be somebody else, you're gonna fail yourself. And if you understand that failing yourself is worse than failing anybody else, then you're winning. Then you're on the other side of things. So that's my take on it. All right, last thing we're going to talk about is labels. So some of you here are parents, are bosses, or starting to, have an entrepreneur life. Labels, man, they're a beautiful thing, because a lot of the times they're meant to protect us. But instead of protecting us, it confines us. And what do I mean by that? I mean that we're not able to let ourselves be human, because we got to be the strong one, and we got to be the protector, and we got to be the fixer. So we can't show that we're scared, or we can't show that this is a challenging moment in our lives. Perfect example, everything that happens in life that just knocks you across the head unexpectedly, like, you have to learn that just because you're the leader doesn't mean that you can take a step back and say, okay, this is pretty tough. I need to see how I'm going to process this. And obviously you're not going to sit, on the board of directors and be like, I don't know what to do, I'm kind of scared. No. But you can give yourself a second to be authentic, to be yourself, and say, look, I've been mulling this over, and, this is a tough process and this is a tough situation, but these are some strategies I have. What do you guys think? And I've had that conversation multiple times with, leaders and managers and supervisors here in my office. And as a mom, sometimes we're supposed to be these superheroes that are the ones that, make the house smell like cookies, and, like, you're always Miss Santa Claus. This morning, my daughter, love her, but man, she was not 4 years old. She was 14 this morning. I think I called her name maybe 25 billion times today. And I was like, eat your breakfast, please. Eat your breakfast. Please, eat your breakfast. And then I was like, please, just eat your breakfast. And she's like, Mom, why are you so sad? And I was like, you're making me sad. You're killing me. And again, like, it's anybody else would be like, oh my God, that's such a bad mom. Like, how could she say that to her daughter? But I was like, girl, I'm dying. I'm struggling here. Like, I need your help, because everything that she does, her brother does. So she didn't want to eat, her brother didn't want to eat. She wanted to play, her brother wanted to play. She wanted to go under the couch, and her brother wanted to go under the couch. It was just like, it was madness. And as she was leaving to go to school, I felt obviously terrible. And she's walking out, and she just looks back, and I run to her. I literally ran out the door, and I just ran to her, and I gave her a huge hug. And she just grabbed me, and she said, Mommy, I love you. And I was like, oh, like, it felt like everything I needed at that moment. And I know this is super cheesy, but I was like, thank you. I was like, I love you so much. I can be myself, obviously not like off the walls, but I can be myself with this little version of me, and understand that even this 4-year-old who's going on 14 loves me and accepts me. And that in itself is probably like just one story out of 1,000, but it's validating, man, as a mom, to remember that you're not meant to be perfect, but you were created to be that person's parent. And I've seen my mom in so many different highs and low seasons, and it's just made me love her more. It's made me want to be better for her. So if you're struggling with that as a parent, and you're like, I'm trying to be this perfect parent, and I'm trying to be this perfect mom or this perfect dad, but nothing that I do is enough, then it's okay. Let them see these versions of you, because they're going to they're going to need that. They need that. My son saw me crying one time, and I blamed it on a cucaracha. I was like, oh, it was just a cucaracha. Mama got scared, And that little boy, 2 years old, little boy literally came and just like bear hugged me, put his legs around me, and just said, it's okay, mama. And you're building that empathy in your kids. Like it starts there. It starts at home. Because if they believe that everything is perfect in life, then they're going to just freak out at the sign of trauma or struggle or anybody crying around them. They're just going to be like, I don't know what to do. So build that empathy and use it, because we need it. We all need it. Your kids need it. They need you. So to close out, maybe the version of you that's tired and you feel like she's broken, maybe that person is just exhausted from performing. And I found myself there multiple times in my life, especially in this year. Performance is about fitting in, and belonging is about authenticity. It's about being real. So you got to choose. Do you want to fit in, or do you want to belong? Because fitting in is cute, but belonging and finding a place where you definitely belong, and you do, is where you feel the most authentic and real version of yourself. And it's like that cheesy quote that says, like, when you love what you do, you're not working. It's true. When you love what you do, and when you find a place that you belong and that you fit, you're not working. You're not overexhausting yourself and killing yourself, because you're doing something out of passion. You're doing something out of love, and you're doing something that no one can tell you that that's where you don't belong. You don't need to earn your place in anybody's life. When you belong to yourself, you stop auditioning. And that's a bar. Boom. And that's in everything. And I'm even learning that as I'm rebranding and, becoming this new version of myself. Like, I want to feel fulfilled before anything. Relationships are going to come, dating's going to happen, and I don't want to earn my place in another man's life. Like, I want to feel like I was always meant to belong there. If you feel like you or anybody that you know has had this facade, or has felt like they've had to keep it all together for the sake of their business or the sake of their sanity or whatnot, I encourage you to share this episode, because I know that so many of the things I talked about were so difficult for me to even realize that I was going through. And I had to hear it from somebody else to actually say, oh, I need to do some inner work to be the best version of myself. So thanks again for listening to The Business of Becoming. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll definitely see you guys next week on this chair.